Oh my. So I have been worshiping and praying and all the things I do before I talk about a super hard subject. Today is going to be a rough one. And this is a rough day and a week of rough days. I am ready. I've always called this, I run away from the insane asylum shirt on because it goes down below my knees. And if I stood up and showed you, it would look like I am wearing, when it was long sleeved, it would look like I was wearing something you'd see on somebody in a mental hospital. Oh, so I have a brand new thing going on. Um, so I got to talk about that brand new thing because this is all pretty crazy. The last week has really been a ride as far as online. I mean, a crazy little ride. Excuse me. I was tears of joy during worship. Tears of joy. Just having the best time. Hey, that kind of shirt would be ideal for KJ. Yep. Holy clothing Celsius, short sleeve, long sleeve, very comfortable. They're like a huge tunic. Let me see if I'm not sitting. I'll show you. I love this shirt. I've had this shirt for 10 years. I've been very careful to keep it. Now I don't iron it like I did. It's huge, but you can't even see the embroidery. So anyway, long story short, KJ, who I hate talking about, but I'm so tired of her half truths and lies. So I'm going to explode a big one today. This is going to be a big one. And I have to address Uni just a tiny bit too, because I'm on his radar, just like I'm on the radar of the um, Shin's S Lord. Because I'm not willing to, hey, Kira, I'm not willing. I love my grands. Yes, blessed Sunday. I'm no longer willing to sit back and keep my mouth shut when I see people behave badly to others. It's like, why are you hurting that person? So I'm going to expose this. But first, I got to do my YouTube things. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tinkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos for nearly 10 years, 9 years, 9 months about the quiverful religion, which we're going to talk a little bit about today because we're going to talk about the Duggars, and my hair is making me crazy. So we're going to do all that. Please don't take anything that I'm saying as 100% fact without doing your own research. Everything I'm going to say is pretty much easily ascertained online. Oh, and these are just my opinions, my considered opinions based upon my years of experience in some of this crap. And don't bully anybody. Don't go real life. Not even with her. I'm just gonna say it. Did you know the scene in Airplane 2 where someone was wearing that shirt in Insane Asylum when someone was dressed? No, I never saw that. Hey, Shelley. Hey, Ginger Lee. Delays in notification. Oh, I'm not surprised. YouTube is full of fail. And since I'm kind of the artistic type where I'm kind of zooming around and you can't really pin me down to a time or a day, I'm kind of out there anyway. So, and that's kind of explains how I am. I'm kind of ADD, and I don't take medication for that. I just go with it, and if it works for other people, it doesn't work for other people. I'm sorry. You just got your notification. Well, I haven't really talked about much of anything yet. Let me address the uni thing first. Unirock. Unirock. Oh, Fiona. Hey, Al Capone's #1 mall. Morning. You used to be Liz. I like your name. That's pretty cool. Unirock has lately been just running his mouth about his service in the U.S. Army. He claims to have been to Iraq, to have been injured and medevaced out. I would love to interview him, to talk to him about that story and ask him where did they medevac him out to, because I know enough about the military to be able to completely debunk that story if he's doing that. And everybody says he is. I don't watch Unirock, but Unirock caught my You're sexy Italian man. Awesome. Unirock has said so many things, and lately he's been so completely outrageously silly. Like he's going after Letitia Bias all the time, the mother of a man that is in a vegetative state, it sounds like. That is awful. I don't care what she's done in her lifetime, good or bad. She is the mother who is losing her child forever. So it's never okay to bully anybody in that kind of circumstance. Never. But alleged service in Iraq, if he did not actually serve, then it starts to become a case of stolen valor. Well, I was going to get to that, Java man. And stolen valor can actually be against the law. If you claim military service that you haven't done, it can be an awful thing. So I started very carefully watching some of the stuff that he said, looking at the DD 214 that he posted a couple of years ago because he said he sent it to me, but he must be carrier pigeon or fairies or something because I've never received it. And I do routinely check my email box, and I kept checking the spam filter and all the other filters, and it wasn't there. It wasn't anywhere that I could see. So I've looked at his DD 214. I've looked at his service picture, the photograph of himself dressed as a soldier. I've talked to people who claim they know him. I've talked to people who claim they know him in the military. And the story that is emerging is mentally sent it. I wonder about that. He may have mentally sent it. But he said that I was going to lie about it and say I never received it. I never received it. I had to seek it out elsewhere. Thank you to Tina I'll Cut You. She got me a lot of stuff. People have been disputing his claim and saying that it's fake since 2018, 19. That's when people started saying that. His service picture shows him, he looks like a baby, wearing battle dress uniform, or as we called it in the military, BDUs. And he's probably saying, she knows nothing. I was a military wife for 12 years. My husband was Soldier of the Year twice. He was Soldier of the Quarter more times than I could count. I used to have flashcards. We would drill him so he would know everything. He was a warrant officer. He he is the most honorable man I know, and he doubts your claims. We both looked at your DD 214 bits of unis, bits that he's posted, rather than scan the entire thing in and black out some of the identifying information like the social security number. He just put bits and pieces. I have compared it to my husband's DD 214 and a number of other people's, and none of that holds up. I'm going to give you my opinion here. I think just talking to everybody, he may have been in ROTC. He may have been in ROTC. Time spent in the brig doesn't count for time of service. He may have been in ROTC. People who claim to know him are saying that he barely made it out of basic training, okay, before he became self-injured and got a military pension. I think that might actually be the truth. I can't say with 100% certainty, but this is what I've come up with. He could have been a reservist job, a man. But here's the thing. If you don't make 180 days of service, and ROTC and reservist doesn't count. Reservist only counts if you go from reservist to full time, because that was my husband's situation. And they sent it all the way back to the beginning of his reservist time. If you have not made your 180 days in the military, guess what? For you to say that you're a veteran is considered stolen valor. Don't believe me? Go look at the DOD website. And that's one thing I've done, a deep dive in all the military websites to refresh myself. Gingerly, he said a bunch of stuff about that. I would like to know where he thinks he was airlifted to, because I know where they would airlift him to. I've been there. I've been to that hospital before. Um, Maybe National Guard. Who knows? But National Guard and reservists, the way they count their time is very different, and it may not transfer. So if you have somebody that is claiming they were Vietnam or Iraq or whatever, and they can't actually prove it, or you think their stories BS, that may be a case of stolen valor. He's claiming that just by talking about this, that I am causing soldiers to unalive themselves. Not so. Like I said, I have nothing but love and support for the military. And that is why, for me, this is such a major thing, because to do this is an awful and major thing. Well, you can, but it really depends on times, because that's what I was reading. It really depends upon time and service. A lot of it does. And they count different services different ways. One of the things that made me think that this ROTC story or a barely mad on basic story was true is his service photo. When you join the military and you make it through basic, because you have to make it through basic, they take a photograph of you that is your official portrait at some point towards the end. My husband took one. Everybody I know that was in the military took one. Steve McRae took one. He was in the Navy. It's a different photo. So I can't speak to Steve's, but I know in the Army, they do not take it in BDUs, battle dress uniforms. You're wearing your dress greens when you have that photo taken, and you're not allowed to wear a hat. Wearing a hat indoors is verboten anyway, and you're not allowed to wear it in your photograph. You can't have on headphones, anything. You're standing straight and staring ahead in your dress greens. If he's at risk of unaliving himself, he should call the suicide hotline. Exactly. Or someone can send a welfare check to his mom's basement. Um, exactly. So for me to talk about stolen valor and to question his experience is not me saying or doing anything that would make anyone unalive themselves. I have nothing but love and respect for genuine veterans. And for some reason, there's a whole pile of S-weasels that love to pretend that they were military, whatever. And the next thing you know, um, people are using the unalive threat to justify what they're doing. So I see you. I see what you're doing. If he had actually served, he would talk about it more. We know he's got no life at all. And that his claim to fame is his service. Yet he never talks about it, just says he served. Does puny wimp consider the risk of unalive and war trauma victims, especially those of us who lived it as children? Apparently not. And that is a serious point. It's a good point. I don't think he realizes those of us that walk around with trauma from childhood, from whatever, we're at risk at doing that stuff to ourselves. I'm afraid because of the things he's saying to Letitia Bias and about Letitia Bias and that whole 9 yards, that he is impacting her. And my heart breaks for her because she's facing the hardest thing a mother ever has to face, the death of a child. And let's face it, I think it would take a real creative miracle of God for her son to wake up and be completely normal again. I mean, I hate to say that. I hate to be realistic. I would rather say, God can do this and he will do it. You just keep praying. And, well, don't dispute that you can do that. And I've seen some crazy miracles in my lifetime. The reality is she's facing something so horrific and she's being harassed. She's being harassed by him, by KJ, by everybody who's talking about this. And it's just pitiful. So for him to say in one breath that I'm making people want to unalive themselves while he's harassing someone, and I've called consider what he's doing, he's harassing her. Harassment. Some of them falsely claim military valor or running for Congress. I know that when that comes out, I'm always like, hee hee, because I like that it comes out. If he actually served you, yeah, he would talk about it more. He would. And from people I know who've been to Iraq, who were part of the Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and the conflict since, almost everybody walks away with PTSD. And so if you're a veteran and you have PTSD, or if you're having thoughts of unaliving yourself, please, please call the suicide hotline. I'm going to put that in my description below. Nobody wants to see that at all. And I've contacted some of the organizations that do research on stolen valor, and I'm just turning the whole mess over to them. Let them deal with stolen valor. His claims sound like a straw man argument. They do sound very much like a straw man argument. And I don't fight with straw men. I just light them up. 988. That is right. So suicide hotline. Okay, so the other thing that I've come to bust and debunk this morning, I'm in debunk mode, is the constant rattling claims of one Katie Joy Paulson about the Duggar brothers. Katie, you should be kicking yourself. You missed the primary Duggar train income. You just missed it completely. I had a month at Pathos when it came out what Josh had done to his sisters, where I made, I don't even want to say, but I could have bought a car with the money. Maybe not a BMW, like someone is trying to flex that they drove around in for a test drive. Really big deal. I drove around in one for my test drive before I bought my car, a Range Rover, all the way down to some Chinese SUV called the Geely. Okay. Um, Having a test drive is no flex. Buying the car cash would be flex. And I don't see that happening either. Puny Wimp doesn't care about the PTSD he's causing Marvon's family, and who knows what Letitia went through in life. I think Letitia's been through some significant things. I just have to throw that out there. How does he know he's not causing Letitia to want to unalive herself? Autistic, he has no way of knowing that. And that's what bothers me about his attacking Letitia Bias, because he could be seriously harming her mental health without knowing it. They didn't let me take a Lamborghini for a test drive. Java Man, I had a very short period of time, like 6 months, where I sold brand new cars. And we all, the salesmen, took turns on the test track, not driving a Lamborghini. Like, what car was it? It was some kind of crazy product made by Chrysler that was extremely expensive. We all took turns driving it on the test track. It was the most fun ever. 10-speed engines are the best. I mean, 10-valve engines are the best. I love them. It's got 9 miles per hour. About what a small plane gets. Exactly. My husband was born into a civil war. 2 of my kids have PTSD. Don't even get me started on what he's doing to Letitia. I don't think he cares. He's harming that woman. Of course he doesn't. And Kay, I am so sorry for everything your family's been through. I know what it's like to live in a family where there's devastation going on. One of these days, I'll have to tell you guys the story of my growing up in South Louisiana with this large Cajun family where everybody was drinking the wrong stuff. They told me that an ambulance or fire truck gets 3 miles per gallon. I am not at all surprised. Hey, Miss Dumont, I'm not at all surprised. Here's what I am surprised about. I've got to rant about this car thing because it just makes me laugh that that's her flex. That was a big consideration for us because gas here is almost $9 a gallon. Okay. So when we replaced our car because our old one died that we'd had so long, and it was 19 years old, one of the big considerations was miles per hour. Also, the other biggest consideration is because I walk with a cane and I don't move well, not in the water. I move perfect in the water. Being able to get in and out of the car was a major, major thing for me. And I wanted another SUV. But after we drove every single SUV on the planet, test drove, we ended up getting a crossover, a smaller crossover, because I could navigate in and out of it. She's saying she needs this SUV because the child has a wheelchair. Let me tell you something. If that child has a wheelchair, an SUV is not what she needs. She needs some type of a van to put him in the chair in. Even if you're not loading him into the car in the chair, you still need the extra room. So why on earth are you looking at BMW and expensive SUVs? One of the funny things I did this morning was I said, tell me your flex. Tell me your big flex thing. Everybody has a flex thing because she was doing her flex. And I've had so many great answers from people about what their flex is. And some of it has been really comical. Some of it all of it fills my heart. Even Sheila Gregory, who I adore, who writes Love, Honor, and Vacuum, who's been a wonderful Christian sister to me while I was working on my own little imps. Even she replied, and we all had our own weird little thing that was flex. And I love it. I fit a wheelchair folded into a Prius. Oh, wow, Java man. Whatever it takes. But if he's that mobility challenge, getting him in and out might be a problem too. So that's why I brought up trying all these different cars and seeing which ones are the easiest to get in and out of. My little teeny tiny Nissan crossover is perfect for me because I have no problems getting in and out. It sits low to the ground. There's a lot of room in the inside. There's a luggage rack on top. We can tie stuff up there if we have to. Plenty big. It's just the two of us, plenty big, and we're getting double the miles per gallon that our Honda CRV got. So we are ecstatic with our purchase. Best thing we could have done. Best thing ever. And I have to talk about that on another stream because buying a car here is a crapshoot unless you buy a brand spanking new one because there are no consumer protections here whatsoever. So my car came with a 3-year warranty, the standard thing like in the States. So I'm happy about that. Okay, so the main bulk of what I want to talk about today, man, I can't believe I've rambled 22 minutes about this. Where, I've talked before that Katie Joy, when she talks about the Duggars and a lot of her super secret information, a lot of her sources, some of them are things I've told her in the past. Things that I was told that were passed along. There's no way in hell I could ever use it in NLQ. I told her, look, don't tell anybody, but don't publish this, but. And she has run with that. She sees that. She's run with it. She uses that info all the time. She still uses it. She's never traveled to Arkansas, has she? No. She has never traveled to Arkansas. And back when Homeland Security showed up to raid Josh's business, and they were on Duggar property, I've seen photos of it. And we were both hearing from pretty much, I think, the same people. We're getting very similar information. I may have had detail more than her on something. She may have had a detail more than I on something. She used all the info I told her as her own. But the second I tried to use something she told me in regards to this, I had to take it down because she was just outraged. Okay, so I'm going to bust to you guys, and I'm going to say this because I am going to bust what she's saying. Why does she think that one of the Duggar boys is a predator and who? I believe that when she makes those allegations, she's trying to talk about Josiah Duggar. That is who she is focused on. I told her gossip about Josiah when he was still a teenager, incidents that happened, things where he went away to a Gothard camp and things. And she has taken that and run with it and embroidered it well beyond anything. I've been to Arkansas a few times. The crater of Diamond State Park looks like a plowed field. Java Man, that's on my list of places to go to. That's my bucket list. One day I'm going to do the Laura Ingalls Wilder thing, and I'm going to take a detour and go through the Field of Diamonds. So Josiah Duggar is the person she's hinting around about. Josiah had some ups and downs when he was a teenager. Nothing illegal, nothing weird, but stuff that could have been extrapolated out to say now he doesn't love his wife, all these different things. I always thought she was trying to talk about James Duggar. Reddit has said things about him. Well, I was going to get to that, Ginger. I was going to say James Duggar as well, because she hears all this from Reddit, from myself, whomever. But the main guy she's pointing at is Josiah. She's talked about Josiah's marriage. She's talked about how fake it is. She's talked about how he's been forced to get married, all these different things. So Josiah Duggar, if you're out there, you should sue her because she is making allegations about you being a sexual predator. That's who she's talking about. And she has no proof of any of this, no proof beyond the rumors that have been on Reddit and things that I've told her in confidence. I'm sorry your kids have PTSD. When I was 2, the Chilean coup d'etat and dictatorship happened. Oh my goodness. I have 2 memories of that day. My mom hiding us and covering us in a closet. Wow, that's enough to give anybody PTSD. I still jump at sudden noises and planes flying over and sounds of bombs dropping. I have no issues flying, just planes flying over USA. 9/11 was a double whammy as Chilean 9/11 in 1973. I can just imagine. I've talked about that before. 9/11 was traumatic to me too, because I was in the DC area and my husband disappeared for some hours. Oh, hey, Norway. Hello from Costa Rica. And that is just terrible. The other memory is a dark day, which was the dust and smoke. I can hardly imagine. I have seen people coming here running from the hot mess that is Nicaragua 4 years ago and was helping out some of the border because there was things that these Christian relief organizations were there handing out food, handing out information. And that was back before I was non-mobile. So it's the world is just such an unstable place. So we shouldn't be adding to other people's PTSD. And looking at her, looking at him, Renelle Smith called them Tweedledee, her, and Tweedledum, him, in her video today, which is how I even thought about talking about all this crap again, because she's saying all the same things she's been saying about the Duggar boys. And like I said, Josiah and James, the ones that she's Josiah primarily, but James. And there may have been 1 or 2 others that are talked about on Reddit, because I don't always keep up with Reddit, that she's talking about. The world is an unstable place that also just floats on the mantle. You're right about that. But I'm okay now. I got help. At least I'm enjoying life. I hope your kids are getting help. Oh, yeah, I hope so too. I'm an unalive survivor. And I talked about that as far as even my trip in and out of Fundy Town. You know, I was on the verge of doing that. I was very close to the edge when I joined. Thankfully, I realized I needed help and I actually went to counseling and got medicine, and all the people that do church just loved on me, and it was wonderful. I did move past it because it was situational depression, but situational depression and situations you're in can leave you with horrible, horrible PTSD. And that's another thing I want to say about the Duggars, the sons, the daughters, everybody in that family, maybe even Michelle and Jim Bob. PTSD and trauma bonding, trauma is a real thing. We do not know what goes on behind the scenes of the Duggars. We don't know what has happened to Jim Bob in his life that has made him the way he is. We don't know. The same thing with Michelle. Could be trauma responses and they could be trauma bond. We don't know. You just don't, it reminds me of a picture I had hanging in my house for years and years until it got lost when I came here. It was a galley proof from the Sunday website, Post Secret. I got it at the first Post Secret picnic. I went with my daughter. And it said, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact words, that everybody has a secret that would, if you heard it, it would break your heart for them. And I'm a believer in that. I believe all of us have that stuff going on. Stockholm syndrome, yes. Jenna and that friend, yes. All of that. All of that. And I think we need to remember that. Even with KJ, even with Uni, we don't know why Uni hides in his mother's basement and huffing Red Bull and vapes. There might be some huge trauma there too. There's got to be some kind of trauma driving the kind of behavior we're seeing going out at Catherine. So, Catherine, Uni, if you're watching, I'm sure your little stupids will be watching. Please go get help. You don't have to live with the trauma. There is just something so powerful about exposing secrets to the light, not necessarily someone else's secrets, but your own. When you get that off of your chest, it's like sunlight. The sunlight is like bleach going on these things that it just takes the power away. So dealing with it, moving on past it, confessing it is some of the best work you can do. I think my health went down because I put myself in a coma. 40-hour coma. So I understand Marvin and his family. My mom feels for Letitia. She knows that side of pain. It's why I worry about Letitia. It's why I worry about her too, even though I've never had that circumstance. I worry about her because I know what it is like to be told that your child may not live. So exposing these things to light and moving on past is the best thing we can all do. That was one of the plot points of Star Trek V. I know. Was that the one with Spock's brother, Cyrac, or something like that? And they were going to Shakari. I remember that movie very, very well. While I didn't care for the acting of one William Shatner, I love the franchise. Cybok, yes. I actually enjoyed that movie, except I didn't care for the fact that the god was actually some kind of weird critter from another planet that was punking them. I didn't like that aspect. And I really liked the first Star Trek movie and the second one. I think it was the first and the second one. Yeah, the first and the second one with the theme of death and redemption, death and new life. To me, that was just utterly fascinating because we don't know what happens when we go to the other side. We just don't. I was thinking about that earlier because I was listening to Peter Furler's song, A Matter of Faith. And I've always loved that song. There's a chorus there that's, well, not a chorus, a verse that says, New clothes, new name. Every teardrop is wiped away. Fear is gone. Love and peace remain. I had a cat that I absolutely, absolutely, absolutely adored. A little cat that I I adored that little thing, and he was my baby. I had him for 10 years. He was over 20 when I got him. And when he passed, I was devastated because he was my little buddy. Of all the cats I've ever had, he was my favorite. I have to pull out and show you guys here sometime. The vet made me a nice little plaque when we put him down. He had cancer, it was just riddled with it. So we had to put him down. It was bad. He would do things like if I crocheted, he would get on the sofa, put his rear around on the top of the sofa, and put his front in here and pray my ear. He watched TV with me. He would walk around the garden with me. He was like my little shadow. My little shadow. And when he passed, it was devastating. How devastating, so devastating that at one point I was sitting in the bathroom on the edge of the tub crying over this little baby. And my other three cats that didn't get along all came up at the same time and started just loving on me. But what's so interesting to me about this song and about afterlife and everything is I think on the third day I went out to work in the garden and I was just still had that dark cloud over me of just grieving so badly for my little guy. And I came back and threw my iPad down, not my iPad, my iPod that I was listening to worship music on. And I sat down to answer some emails. Well, I noticed it kept flicking on my iPod over and over again. So finally I grabbed the earbuds and I listened. It was flipping on to the same song in the same verse. The new clothes, new name. Every teardrop is wiped away. Fear is gone, only love and peace remain. It did it 15 times. It kept flipping on and off right to there. And I believe to this day that this was my little buddy sending me a signal. Hey, I'm okay. I'm here. I'm okay. Because it never did it before and it never did it again. And there was nothing on it that was causing this. It was just happening spontaneously. Someone posted that God in Star Trek 5 violated the three tenets we hold of God: omnipotence, omnibenevolence, and yeah, it sounds like it. I'd have to do some research on that. But I'm always thrilled when I see theology and the bigger questions being talked about in some way. It's like the end of Mad Men with Don Draper, who has spent his whole life lying and charming, slamming up hard against his own trauma and his own trauma responses and everything he's gone through, and having his own moment of breakthrough. I wish I hope health and healing for all of you guys and for all of everybody I know. There's no way to live in trauma. And I pray somehow the two of those, Unirock and Catherine, just shut the heck up. Just shut up, because they're making everything so much worse for everybody with what they're doing. So now you know her big secret that she's talking about, big secret, awful people in the Duggar family she's talking about. She's talking about Josiah. She's talking about James. She sometimes is talking about Jeremiah. Sometimes she adds that in there. I don't think so, Java Man. I could be wrong, but I think he, like Catherine, considers his YouTube channel his job. Well, no, not job. They consider that their career. You know me, my career is writing. It always has been. I was blessed that for the last 10 years, now 12, 13 almost, that I've been able to make money enough to pay my bills off of it for me. I don't want to ever be in a situation where I don't have some money of my own coming in. Why? Because I don't think my husband needs to be looking at my Amazon bill every single month. I just bought so many Moda pre-cuts. What do they call those pre-cuts? I bought a ton of Moda pre-cuts. I bought the jelly rolls, I bought the layer cakes, and I bought the smaller 5-inch ones. So many of them because I was having just a couple of really bad days there, as you well know, between the china cabinet tip over and breaking some of my antique plates and just some other things going on, having a bad reaction to the pool, all sorts of stuff. Well, I'm still not well, but hey, I've got plans now. Oh, I am so sorry, Aussie Gardner. I know YouTube is doing that for some reason. So my new plan is Billy Joel is building us more furniture. He's building us another bookshelf. He's building me a sewing table. I'm going to get him to build me a little table like I have my computer on here, and I'm using the pieces from my broken plates to tile the top of it, and I'm excited about that. I can't wait. I'm going to put it in my living room. It's going to be one of my pieces. I don't know if you want to check it out, but I have a video that is a song called Heaven Got Another Angel. Put images of the song. It was part of my healing with my absolute abuela passing and my healing. Autistic, I would love to see that. I would love to see. Okay, Java Man. Yeah. This is my considered opinion on who Catherine is talking about, based upon what I told her in the past, based upon things she said to me. I believe it is my considered opinion, that she's talking about Josiah, Jeremiah, and James. I covered the top of an old 80s dining room cabinet. Gingerly, that's awesome. My husband always laughs at me, and he said the other day, he said, "You're the most creative person I've ever met. You do all these weird things." It's like, well, the reason I do those things is I can't not do those things. I told him it doesn't even make sense, but I'm so called to do all that stuff that I don't know how it would function if I had to live like a normie and do stuff that wasn't creative. I would have a terrible time, I think. I had a terrible time in Fundy Town because of a lot of that stuff, because they were trying to tell me that I was too involved in some of the things. And the little cat that I put down a little bit, I was also told I was way too involved with my animals. Oh, and my parrot and all of that, that animals were tools to be used. They didn't have souls, none of that. So I still have to write a chapter of my book about that because the whole thing of animals was so problematic. I can't share links in the comments, but the next comment on my try will. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, if it would just let me open it. Let me see if I can open the link. I'll just copy it. Open link. I'll stay on page. Okay. I'm gonna paste that link in for when I get done with here. I love music. Your parents were like that? Oh my goodness. I don't know how I don't know how to function like that. I know a lot of people that do. I don't know. My husband used to pick at me because we would go on like hikes at the Shenandoah National Park, and I would take a little sit down, and I'd be using a branch to draw a symbol in the dirt or sweep something away. And he was just like, "Why are you doing that?" It's kind of like, "Why not?" Oh, so there you have it. My art rants, who I think she's talking about, and it is opinions. Why I've gone after Unirock so hard about the possibility of stolen valor. And I've said again and again, if he doesn't have stolen valor, thank you for your service. If you do have stolen valor and you did serve some, which it looks like you did, then thank you for your service, but don't thank you for that possible stolen valor. That needs to be looked at. People have come after him since 2018, 2019, as far as I could see, about his military service, claiming BS with what he's saying. So this is just another day. I mean, the same subject, different day, different people. But people have been coming after him for a long time on that. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and go. As you can hear, my voice is all awful again today. So I'm gonna use my nebulizer and read a book before I get up and do art. Art. I'm making a sign for my sewing room to hang on it. And yeah, so I'm doing that right now. And I have a painting I'm working on with oil paints. I have the video featured to my subs, but just added it to non-subs. So if you go to my channel, Autistic Show. Okay, love you guys. Have a wonderful day.